Hello. I thought I'd come up here to Vermont to shoot this one. I'm in Central Park. Anyway, I lie, okay? The book today is Premka, My Life with Yogi Bhajan by Pamala Saharah Dyson. This is a memoir of her life in the cult with this guy, Yogi Bhajan, who came to America in the 60s and acquired lots of followers and built a big thing. Yogi Tea is one of his products, one of the products that emerged out of his organization. And of course, like all these other dudes that start these things, or so many of them, he liked to screw some of his people in more ways than one. I mean, other than destroy their lives by having them all circle around him and do everything about him and live their lives according to him, because he had connection to God. He took their lives away, and he took this woman, Pamela's, life away. She met him when she'd recently moved to LA in, I think it was 1968, around there. So those times, the Vietnam War was going on, the youth culture was going off the scales because of many of us baby boomers reaching age. I'm a little bit younger than she is. She's in her later 70s. I'm in my early 70s. I'm aware of these times. I remember these times. I was affected by a lot of it myself, but oddly, I never really got into the India thing. And I'm not exactly sure why. It might be that I was too much involved and connected and believing in the sort of more rugged individualist model of how to be, which is also very much a part of our culture, very much a part of the whole American experience, and then pumped up a great deal more in the 60s and so forth. So, around this atmosphere of this going to India business, I felt that it was a real shutdown, a real hijacking of something that was going on that was experimental and new and bold and exciting, largely because of the introduction of LSD. Which was a very, is, and still is, a very unusual and a drug that does things that people really do not expect. So if you've not had a psychedelic, any of your other drug experiences, just forget it. It ain't like being drunk. It ain't really like marijuana. It's something else. And a big figure who I like to blame and think he did a bad thing is Richard Alpert. Alpert, is that it? Alpert? Yeah, it's Alpert. Richard Alpert, who worked with Timothy Leary at Harvard when they were studying LSD, and then went off with him when they both got fired and lived in the rich guy's house another rich guy, Hitchcock, and did their began to do their proselytizing. Well, actually Leary's proselytizing and elevating himself up into kind of a leader of the psychedelic movement and all that, which caused even more of a clampdown by the drug enforcement people, even though LSD came right out of the CIA's experiments with mind-controlled drugs, MK Ultra. You can look up all that if you're interested. It's a long path of stuff to discover and find out about, and it's all very, very, very interesting. What the CIA did with LSD and all these experimental things, and the kind of work they did to people, just sort of dosing people without their knowing, and really criminal stuff like that. It's a kind of a criminal act to give someone a drug like that, or that powerful, and not let them know what they're in for. It's an ugly thing to do, but these are CIA agents, and so we're warring on we're at a war against whatever, communism or helping our business friends or whatever it is. I don't know. Anyway, so Ram Dass, Richard Alpert, goes to India, I guess right around the time that she's getting involved with Bhajan, and the book Be Here Now is the regurgitation of that trip. It's a very graphic book. It was a big seller in the late 60s, wherever it came out, and I attribute it as a very important book in this move toward Eastern spirituality and the equalizing it with this LSD experience. It is not, I don't believe that the Eastern religion experience is like the LSD experience. He goes to India, Richard Alpert, in this book, and the idea is he gives 3 tablets of powerful LSD, or so many, to some Indian guy, some guru guy he finds. The guy supposedly takes them, whether he palmed them, did something else, whatever. He takes them and maintains, which means he has no effect. So I guess this meant to Richard Alpert that therefore he's more enlightened than the LSD. Therefore, this sort of Hindu thing is what it is and what I need to study. So he comes back to his rich guy's house. His dad owned a railroad in New Hampshire or something like that. Richard Alpert was a really, really rich guy. And he put on the robes, grew his beard, called himself Ram Dass, got followers. There's films of him recently back from India with his followers doing their chanting and meditation. He is guiding people who could be experimenting, could be going into exciting new realms, and he is caging them within old-time religion. Premka, white bird in a golden cage. Now, the rugged individualism thing. The opposite of that is how we hear so much about the hazards of joining, of getting involved with anything, of talking to your fellow. Well, in the past few years, of even having a conversation with someone without a mask, of going to their house, connecting to people. We are afraid of each other. And when you look into religions and joining things, so much of the propaganda, it's all kind of fun in a way, what we get from corporate media. The endless numbers of television docuseries, serious docuseries about various religions, and led by various narcissists, which is basically what this story is. This is an innocent get involved with a narcissistic jerk looking for to build a thing for himself, and you are to serve, you are to believe that he is from God, and forget it, you're just a follower. He exploited her a lot by telling her he was going to elevate her. He was going to make her the next leader of this outfit. He was going to, that's part of it, a power. So it's like people are looking to become part of something, but also looking to get a piece of that power. They're hanging with a powerful individual to gain some of his power. Okay, now, I watch Dr. Grande sometimes on YouTube. He has a very systematic way that he does his everyday videos. He talks about true crime usually. And he'll talk about the case and then he'll offer his analysis. That's probably what I should do more instead of this meandering way that I approach these things. So let's talk about the book. What goes on in the book? Passerby there. What goes on in the book is that she meets this guy. She is kind of it's a love story, really. It's really a love story where she meets this guru. She's single. She's divorced. She had a marriage, which, I don't think she talks about all that much. I think she was divorced. Is that true? She had it's a slim volume. It's only a couple hundred pages, so we don't really get a lot of detail. It's a self-written book that she came up with, years later out of being out of this group, since she left in the mid-'80s. And the book came out, it's just a couple of years ago, I guess. 2019. So she's been involved with like a writer's circle and worked on her craft to produce the book out of that. And, such as it is, it's really good. It's her story. And it's really good that she told her story because so many people needed to hear this story. I mean, so many people who were following this guy, bought into the whole thing. She was going to be the supreme leader of some council, and she acted as this and that, and, all this stuff that went on with it. And right off the bat, he, the guru has to have someone in his chamber. He's married to somebody in England and has 3 kids already. So he's, I guess he's like in his 40s. He's more or less kind of young still at this point. And he tells these people that due to what he does when he's sleeping as this yoga guy, he leaves his body during the night, and it can get cold. So it's important that someone's in his chamber with him to cover him when he goes off at night to this other realm or whatever's going on there. So since it's all bullshit, I don't need to act as though it's something real. So he needs somebody in his chamber. So of course it's really nice to get a 20-some-year-old woman, attractive, you know, she's nice looking, into his chamber, and so he starts fucking her. So right off the bat, he's starting to fuck her, and by 1971, she's getting an abortion in India. That's the beginning of it, where she's telling about her, you know, kind of a back alley abortion that she got in India, which is also, abortion was also illegal there in 1971. And so she had this procedure, and the first scene is they're flying back from India, she and he, sitting side by side in the seats, and she starts bleeding from the wound of her uterus not getting scraped out properly during this abortion. So she has to be, you know, blood is all over the seat. They fortunately are just about landing in Heathrow in London. So she goes into the hospital, and he and the rest of the followers fly back to India. They went to, fly back to America because he had to get the followers back to America. They would take trips to India every year. Yeah, the India, you know, I should more talk about the book now instead of my views of India. So she's, you know, had this abortion by this guy from this pregnancy by this, you know, narcissist creep that she's all involved with. And of course, this goes on for, you know, another 15 years or whatever it is. And as things progress, she starts to separate herself and she continues to be drawn in. Earlier scenes, she talks about how, you know, how she felt he was handsome, how she was, you know, really kind of physically attracted to him, which of course I don't see. Of course I'm another guy, I guess, and you know, all this long hair and the beards and all, you know, all this stuff. I don't know. It's not my aesthetic. So although I did have long hair back in that period for a couple of years. So it's all this the story of her. They can't talk to each other. Everybody's kind of isolated. It all starts growing and growing and growing. He starts amassing wealth. She drives around in Mercedes. At one point when she wants to leave and so forth, you know, she has to consider, well, I won't have any support. I won't, you know, that's a primary thing of any of these cults. They leave you completely vulnerable. So if you want to leave, you can't leave because you don't have any money. You don't have any resources. You've already separated yourself from your family or whatever, and there's kind of no way out unless you just jump and give it a go. So it takes her a long time, and it actually takes the catalyst of another love. That's another thing about this love story, because it becomes a triangular love story. As she falls in love with Mr. Dyson, I think she says his name finally at the end, but Sri Brahma. You know, and they all take Indian names. So she falls in love with this other guy who ends up joining the group, and actually he's kind of unusual because he comes from another guru. He comes from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, I believe. Is that what it was? He either comes from, there was this young guy who was a yogi for a while, and then there was the guy that the Beatles went to see who started transcendental meditation and all that. Also, yeah, the Beatles were part of all this. in when they went to India after their LSD and got involved. You know, it's like, why? What is the association with India and LSD? I don't get it. So it becomes this triangular thing where she's in love with this other guy. She tells him that she wants to marry. She tells the leader, Bhajan, that she wants to marry, and immediately he could arrange marriages. He arranged marriages of his followers. So she tells him that she wants to marry. So what does he do? He marries that guy to another woman and makes her conduct the ceremony. We got some real sadistic activity going on in this asshole. Control, sadism. Anyway, you can read the book and find out all about that stuff. It's a well-written book. It's a pleasant read, even though it's so sad, because you see a young woman throwing 15 years of her life, 15, 16, whatever years of her life away. But on the other hand, it was only that. There are people that spend their entire lives in these things. That's all they end up knowing. There are children that are raised up in these things. There's a Facebook group of ex-followers of Bhajan that I've been following for a while. So I have other information, a little bit other information that I get from that. And, you know, I see that there are people who have spent, you know, they're old gray people who were young 20-somethings when they first put on the turban and started growing their hair. Oh, you have to grow your hair because your hair is spiritual antennae or something like that. So it's this, you know, this tragedy of what happens when you connect. And that is something else that I want to talk about with this, in that with all of these stories, all these documentaries we watched. I watched one last week on HBO about, you know, you can watch Keith Raniere and all these people. You know, they're fascinating. I mean, the ruckus created by these narcissists, it's incredible that you know what they can pull off and how people go along with it repeatedly and continuously and again and again and again. But I think real danger here. Oh, another one was Hillsong, the other documentary I watched most recently was about the Hillsong Church, which was the origin in Australia, and ultimately becoming this big global evangelical situation, and of course then it devolves into more sex scandal, the same old thing. Accumulating power around the guy who is connected to God, and then sex scandal. They took all their money, just you know, raising, just getting power, just, you know, it's just another, you know, just their whole thing. Political things too. You can get involved with political parties that do the same thing to you. You can get involved with all kinds of groups that do these kinds of things to you. And here is the danger. Here is what I really have come here to talk about, I think, in that we are at a crisis. We are in a crisis where we need people to organize together and change things. The only way things change is when people group together for a cause. Now, when we're put in a position where of this individualism is the vogue, and we're taught actually to fear the other, like the past couple of years when we're fearing everybody else. On top of that, the documentaries about if you join a group, you're gonna get fucked over, basically. So it builds a feeling of fear about connecting. Why bother connecting? You're just gonna get exploited anyhow. Why not be just an individual, or be the exploiter? You be the cult leader. You grow your own power. Because what we're left with is that if we can't get together and do things, and whenever we just try to get together and do things, if all the groups are controlled by narcissistic, power-hungry, basically men, then it's endgame. We're not going to be able to get together to do anything to change. The only people that are going to keep accumulating power are the people around money, the people who can organize around money. Corporations keep people together because it gives them money. It builds a career for them. It binds them with this corporate culture. And other than that, other than joining a job, that kind of a thing, we're kind of left without any groups to join to change anything. America is now in the waning days of something that emerged out of the 1930s, out of the Great Depression, and out of an industrial labor unionization movement that began basically around the turn of the 20th century. By 1915, it was pretty much cooking along. Trade unionism, workers getting together to create change. And by the time the economy crashed in '29, there was enough power base within people themselves that, and communism was looking a little attractive, where the government had to fold and give us a lot of stuff. Therefore, we got Social Security. Therefore, we got unionism rose up. The whole business of the New Deal came in. Social Security, really, and we built the culture that took us, a lot of us, through the 20th century. The century that is looked back on as when America was great again, while they don't understand why it was great again. It was great again because of the New Deal. It was great again because the government was slightly tuned to helping the common man and not just watching big business build and the military state. Of course, now since World War II and everything else, it's all just falling apart really rapidly. And now we have this military-industrial complex that has been marauding all over the world. We build bases all over, surrounding any country, surrounding them and being intimidating and being hostile enough that we create a problem. But that's another matter, isn't it? I'm sorry I brought it up. But, so that's a real problem. If anything we join together with, bond together as humans, if any family is corrupted by a narcissist, if the result of all this rugged individualism out of Ayn Rand, out of the propaganda that they felt they needed to destroy communism, out of anything about people building together. We only have all of us who are afraid to join anything, and narcissistic, bold dudes who want to lead and wrap and gather people around them to build their power. And if you dare to try to join a group, you're probably going to end up with these narcissistic dudes in front of it all, who are going to basically destroy the whole thing. So it comes to a point where, well, what do we do? How are we going to change anything? I don't think we are. I mean, unless I think we're probably going to end up letting the military-industrial complex, really bring us into some kind of blundering war. This is going to cause, serious global destruction and kill a lot of people. That's quite a rant, isn't it? Steve, calm down. And here I am in this such a beautiful setting. That's it's piped in water. It's artificial, but well designed and really lovely. I love the New York City parks. I love New York City. New York City, a place where people around the country are probably trained to hate, because we have a diversity of people and because we have to live together. And we learn how to some degree anyway. So this is a really good book. And you can see that it causes all this thought within me. And, it's central to so many things that has been on my mind. The individualism, the hazards of joining groups, as in the contrast of the very vital need to join groups and get together and do things together, and have some kind of a spiritual bonding together, and have some kind of what LSD gave me. When I took LSD in the spring of 1970 in southern Ohio, and it was powerful stuff by the guys, the Sunshine Makers, I'm pretty sure. Scully and Sand. When I took LSD, I felt a spiritual oneness with my environment. This was a spiritual experience for me. This was a seeing and feeling and detecting and touching and knowing the connectedness. I sat on a hill in this southern, I was at Rio Grande College, way down in southern Ohio, a very dinky little college where a friend of mine went. And actually, Abby Hoffman went to speak one time. So I was at Rio Grande College taking this LSD for the first time as a 18-year-old person. And I looked at the trees. It was springtime. It was late April. Not even 30 years after this discovering of LSD. And I looked at the trees, and I could see the trees moving at the distance across a field, and I could see the air moving the trees, and I could feel the air, and I could feel that I could see the air, that it was a substance. It was not a nothing, and I could see and feel and detect, and I knew that the air and the tree and me and everything around it had the type of connection of moving together that was not really so much on my awareness before I had this experience with this substance. And I didn't need to sit and with a guru for a decade and give him all my money and follow him to fucking India to learn all this stuff. It was right there. And it is right there. A spiritual leader I did really like and read a good deal of him, more than any of the others. Actually, I don't even think I have read very much. Oh, I read the autobiography of a yogi. The autobiography of a yogi, which is also a big book around this late 60s period about another guy who came much earlier, I think in the early 50s, to LA and spread yoga. And I read the book, and it's like, okay, he's like, doing kind of elevation things, and, there's some kind of tricks going on in it. And, actually it's been, it's been like 50 years since I read the book, so I'm not about to really tell you what all went on right here, because I can't remember. But the point of the story is that I was living with a high school friend of mine up in Vermont, the real Vermont, when I read the book. And I said, oh, this is interesting. I was reading this and that, whatever. And, oh, this is interesting. I've always been a reader. And gave it to my friend who, I guess wasn't that big of a reader. And, I guess all this time later, still, he and his wife are part of the Self-Realization Fellowship. He really bought into it wholeheartedly. Where to me it was just another book, another thing, another story, another, so these things are powerful because, he probably was told by those people that LSD, really was, kind of this fake thing, and really the spiritual thing was the real thing, and, all that. Neither of them the real thing, or both are the real thing. I don't know. So, that's the message of today's little lecture. We have to get together somehow. We have to build a movement. We have to build a movement around me. Steve Carter, your supreme leader because I'm connected to God and I'm really fucking smart. No. No, we need to get together in a way that, we can change things and build things and make a people-oriented world instead of a corporate, which ultimately is a military-oriented world. And we ain't going to get there by joining cults, I tell you that. But we ain't going to get there by being by ourselves either. So, I wanted to make a clever little thumbnail. I see that thumbnails attract viewers. Oh, by the way, I do want to say thank you and hello, my 47 Awakening Wonders. I'm a Russell Brand fan. So, Russell Brand's a great guy. And somebody who I think I am kind of willing to follow, actually. So, because he's working class like me, partly. So the message is join together, but watch out for narcissists, and don't be a narcissist, and don't exploit people, and take drugs if you want to, and but don't think they're really something else, because they're not. Although everything is connected to something else. As everything is connected to everything, as I start talking about this book and talk about something over here, and I guess that's about enough for today. Happy Saturday. Happy Juneteenth.